Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Transparent Physics. And in this lesson, we're going to be continuing the Just Demos series, where we show you how to do some cool stuff either in or out of the classroom. And today is going to be the Quarter Catch Challenge, a pretty simple but effective demonstration of some principles of Newton's laws of motion. And as always, safety first. Just recognize that this demonstration involves potentially small objects flying around your room at high speeds if you miss some of these quarters. So when performing this, make sure your elbow is not pointing in the direction of people or fragile objects, because generally speaking, that's the direction the quarters are going to fling if you miss catching all of them. So you don't want to hit one of your audience members or a fragile 17th century vase or something like that. All right, so how to get this done is pretty straightforward, sort of party trick level of complexity here. Remembering the cautionary tales in the previous slide, I find rolling up the sleeve helps a lot. The more quarters you get on your elbow, the harder it is to balance. And I personally find it easier to balance it on bare skin, but your results may vary. And generally, you raise your elbow such that it's approximately level with your ear, creating sort of a floor to set the quarters on. You're going to use your free hands to stack quarters on your elbow. Generally, I just do one stack, and then drop your elbow rapidly, swing your hand down, and catch the quarters in mid-air. And let's see how this looks. Okay, that happens pretty fast. When I talk to my students about it, they'll often say, well, the reason you're able to catch it is because your arm moved so fast that the quarters didn't have time to drop. Is that a good explanation? Well, let's run the video again slower and see what we can see about that. All right, so a closer look at that video does show that the quarters are not levitating in space. They do begin to drop when my elbow drops away. That's completely in line with Newton's laws of motion. The first law of motion says that as long as the forces are balanced, the objects are going to maintain the velocity they had, either a constant velocity or at rest. And elbow acts up, gravity acts down, forces are balanced, quarters remain at rest. And then when my elbow drops away, it's only gravity acting down. So the quarters are going to begin to accelerate downward the instant my elbow disappears. Now, since the quarters are at rest, their inertia has them starting at rest, and it does take time for the speed to increase appreciably, and my hand swings around and catches them before they have a chance to drop very far. All right, this is a pretty simple demonstration, but a great way to demonstrate the fact that you can't cheat physics. Despite what sometimes the cartoons show you, the object sort of hovering for a little bit before it begins to drop. The instant conditions are met, the physics begins to operate. So as soon as the forces are unbalanced, the object will begin to accelerate downward. And while there may not be a lot of time for that effect to sort of snowball, it doesn't mean that the objects aren't accelerating anyway. So it's a great thing to remember when you're thinking about how Newton's laws apply. The instant your forces are unbalanced, the object does begin to accelerate. Now we can do a little further investigation of this as well. If you slow-mo the video right as the quarters are beginning to drop, sometimes what you can see is the bottom quarter, and sometimes more than one of those quarters, actually begin to sort of move away from my body as I drop my elbow, so they don't just drop straight down. We can look at that in terms of the physics, and again, the idea is that as my arm rotates forward, it actually sort of moves in a bit of a circular path. So it's not just dropping straight down, it's dropping forward and down. So there's friction between the quarter and my arm. The friction is trying to prevent the object from sliding with respect to my arm. So the quarter wants to slide back on my arm, relatively speaking. and therefore my arm exerts a force forward on the quarter, trying to keep it from sliding. That frictional interaction is enough to actually accelerate the quarter sort of away from my body. And the faster you accelerate, it's possible that it can end up having more of an impact on the bottom quarters and they sort of kick out faster. Now you're trading that off with the fact that the force is applied for less time. So it gets a little complicated, but one thing you might want to think about is there a way to drop your arm in such a way that you're not imparting the bottom quarter or two with sort of that outward velocity, because that can make those harder to catch the more quarters you get. So, you know, with a little extra analysis, you can use the physics to your advantage and become the best quarter catcher in your classroom. All right, well, I've been doing this demo for a long time in my classroom. I've had plenty of practice at it. So for posterity's sake, for this video, I'm going to find out what is my limit? How far can I push myself? How many quarters can I catch? Okay, well, there you have it. I was doing a little research on this party trick here, and in terms of like what counts as like a world record for it and stuff like that. And the general assessment seems to be that the official rules when you're trying to catch quarters on your elbow is that you have to catch all the quarters you start with on your elbow. It doesn't matter how many you actually catch if you don't catch all of them. So following those rules, my best run was 28 quarters. I did have a couple runs where I was trying to catch 30 and I managed to catch 29, but I understand the logic of that. I mean, in theory, you could start with like 500 quarters on your elbow and just like go monster catch, and that's not that doesn't really necessarily take a lot of skill. So I'll put my highest score as 28. For the record, the video I saw online, the guy supposedly caught 51, I think. I know it was really hard to tell. The video was a little poor quality, and people were complaining that they could hear that he missed quarters. So officially they were saying that run doesn't count. So you can try this on your own and see how many quarters you can catch. Remember, it's not a trick, it's just physics. If you enjoyed seeing sort of party trick physics, consider liking the video. Let me know in the comments section below how many quarters you're able to catch. And to keep up with the latest releases from Transparent Physics and to help the channel grow, please consider clicking the subscribe button. As always, thanks for watching this lesson. Hopefully I've made the physics behind catching quarters and the process of catching quarters a little clearer for you on this lesson of Transparent Physics.